Hello, good morning, and welcome back to the Football Terrace. It appears to be all go on the transfer front now for Manchester United. And and we'll start off with this from the top, the fact that this information is coming to us from the likes of Marzio. We're not talking about some online magazine. We're not talking about some journalist who's unverified that we've never heard of, who comes out of obscurity. We are talking about Marzio, and of course Mr. Romano as well, that work for Marzio in the publication. Two of the most credible and most accurate journalists when it comes to transfer news over the past 3 to 4 years. And they've spoken about many of the Man United deals, but one that came out yesterday, and we're going to speak about him again, is Harry Maguire. Before we go into that with any more detail, please do us on the channel a big favour and hit that like button, and please hit the share button as well. It's the very best way that you can support us here. Aside from that, a big shout out to our title sponsors, the Football Index. If you want to get involved in the football stock market, sign up to their app. Our exclusive link is inside the description below. You do need to be over the age of 18 and, of course, live and reside in the UK. Now, on Harry Maguire, let's have a little bit of a refresh. Yesterday, called in sick, did not attend training. We, like many people, spoke about this situation. And, of course, there was always the possibility that that was just a coincidence. He was genuinely sick and a storm in a teacup. But then a few bits of information have come out since then. The first being an Instagram post on his story by the agent, one of the representatives of Harry Maguire, a gentleman called Stephen Becks, who was at I don't know where these offices were, I've never seen them before. It was at Manchester United offices yesterday. He took a Snapchat picture. It's on the thumbnail. You can see, there's numerous trophies with one. There's a Man United badge in there. So many people believe that he was there to have further discussions surrounding the Harry Maguire move. Now, people have tempered that by saying that he also represents James Garner, so he could have been there for those purposes, which is absolutely true. So I think it's right for transparency. I think it's right for transparency that we put that out there as well. But then Marzio tweeted and put out a story just an hour or so later after this leaked picture came out, speaking very much about Man United having reached personal terms and total agreements with the player. Harry Maguire wants to be a Manchester United player. Personal terms have been agreed. Everything is in place to get the deal done. It's simply a matter now of Leicester City and Man United coming to an agreement. And I think what's going to go in Manchester United's favour, and I'm going to put my opinion out on this, and I'm going to stand by it. I do believe Man United will get this deal done. I do believe Manchester United will get this deal over the line. And the reason that I'm saying that is because it's not even about the leaked picture on Instagram. It's not about the continued connection. It isn't about going sick and trying to force a move. All these things play into it. It's the fact that Romano and Marzio are reporting about this, and they're even responding. They're responding to people. People have tweeted them back and said, "Look, what's going on? Give us further updates." And they're responding. They know about this, and they tend not to tweet and they tend not to publish stories unless they truly believe they're going to happen. And it's why they're so credible. It is why they're so credible. So in my humble opinion, I believe that Harry Maguire is going to become a Man United player. There are so many factors that are now telling us this. It's come a lot later than we wanted it to. It's come a hell of a lot later in this window than we wanted it to. Leicester have played hardball, but I think we've now got to a point where we have demonstrated continuously to Harry Maguire that we want him as a player. We are the ones that keep addressing what Leicester are posing as a new hurdle. We meet that new hurdle and they move it again. They increase it and they make it more difficult for Manchester United. And I think it's starting to backfire. And we've seen the exact same example happen with Inter Milan, who continue to do it from the other direction, undershoot what Man United want from Maguire. They might now lose out on their man. Harry Maguire wants to leave Leicester City. He wants to become a Manchester United player. He's becoming increasingly frustrated with the way Leicester City are behaving. Most people that have inside information, most people that understand the way football transfers work, believe that Leicester City are now going to give in to Harry Maguire and give him his wishes. But I want your viewpoints and opinions on this, with Marzio leaking this story, the picture on Instagram, going sick from training. For me, there's no coincidence that all happened on the same day. Absolutely no coincidence whatsoever. I believe it's happening. I believe he's going to be a Man United player. And by the way, that's just me basing it off of those things. I'm not sitting here claiming to know anything. I haven't spoke to anybody. It's purely using my intuition and what's now happening with this situation. But I'm going to jump into your live comments and see what you're all thinking, what you're all feeling about it. Terry, is the Football Index available in Canada? Jordan Lee, no, not at the moment. Just Sweden and the UK, but as soon as it reaches other countries, we will let you know. Hi Terry, keep up the great work. Call me a cynic, but I won't believe anything until Leicester and Man United release a statement. Listen, Daniel, I think that's a fair point. And in terms of, I won't believe the deals are done 100% until that happens as well. I just believe this is going to happen. But I totally understand your train of thought. And look, go back and watch videos from mine from a week ago, talking about Man United crashing in on the Nicolas Pepe situation. I called it BS. I didn't believe it was real. You know, the links with Savic, I think there's been contact. But like I've said, I only believe it's going through if Paul Pogba is sold. That's my fervent belief that that's going to happen. So I think there's not getting carried away and overexcited, but equally ensuring that you digest the information as much as you can. You claimed it in your banner. What banner? Oh, claimed what? Some of you write comments and I don't know what you're talking about. You've got to be specific. I say and do a lot of things on this channel. Harry Maguire on his own isn't enough. We need an attacker and midfielder over the line ASAP. Bieber Gaming. We do need a midfielder. I've got a bit of a theory on what's going on why the Bruno Fernandes situation has slowed down, and it's due to a lot of what I've been reading about Man United's new style. You look super baked, Terry. I don't know what that means. Sorry, maybe I'm old. Explain to me what you mean by baked. I've got an understanding of what baked means, but can you explain what you mean by it? Look, I think that I get a little sense that we're going to talk about the Dybala situation later, but I get a feeling if the Dybala move happens, Bruno Fernandes might not, due to the formation that's going to be played. Baked means high. Yeah, I thought the same thing, and I don't know how you think I look high. It's one thing I've never done in my whole life, actually. I've never tried a drug. I've never tried smoking. I like a good drink. I've never done those two things. I'm not even too sure why, but there we go. Here we go. Arsenal bought Laka, Aubameyang and Pepe whilst being in the Europa League. Arsenal is still a hot prospect for good young players. Mate, listen, I know that's a little bit off topic, but I agree. Like all this nonsense that big clubs can't sign top players without Champions League football is an absolute nonsense. It's an absolute nonsense. Man United have proven this. When we signed Zlatan, Pogba, and when we signed Zlatan, Pogba, and Mkhitaryan, we weren't in the Champions League. When we signed Angel Di Maria, we weren't in the Champions League. Falcao, we weren't in the Champions League. You know, we just signed Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's turned down Champions League clubs to come here. So, you know, it's absolutely right. Did you know, says buy a midfield. United will look to buy a midfield. They're going to do that. I think what we need to temper ourselves on is the fact that not every area that needs to be addressed was ever, in terms of players in and players out, was going to happen inside the first summer. It was never going to happen. We've said that. I'm kind of aware of that. I always felt 3 to 4 signings, but good quality signings were needed. And if we can get Maguire over the line and then one of Dybala, Bruno or Savic in, I think that's, and of course in that you see Lukaku leaving and Darmian maybe, and potentially even Rojo as well, to remove sort of 3 bits of what we would probably put in that deadwood category. Be very happy. How much is the deal for, Terry? That information hasn't been released. Nobody knows the answers to that. People are just being told it's done. Do you know it's actually very rare, if at all ever done, that when agents and representatives talk to particular media outlets to say, yep, deals are done, personal terms are agreed, you do realise they don't actually ever tell anybody how much the players are earning. That never ever happens. It's something that's kept. Listen, we used to have to be told very early on about pay rises and bonuses and all sorts of things that football players were receiving in the private bank that I worked for. And we had, like, with some agents, we had 10, 15-year relationships with them personally and with an abundance of their clients. And even when we were requesting further information about source of funds, even though we knew it was from a football club and what it was for, FCA regulation and US banking regulations dictate that we don't assume and we get the actual factual information. They were reluctant to give it to us, and it was under the strictest non-disclosure agreements at the time. So them giving that information to the media, for me, it's an absolute no-go area. There is absolutely no way they'd be doing that, in my view. They just wouldn't be. I was going to do a few more of your comments. Hi, Terry. How much do you think Harry should earn per week if he signs for Man United? I would probably, do you know what I would probably do with him? England's best centre-back, one of the best in Europe. I would say, I would put him on £150,000 a week. The fact that Phil Jones is on £125,000 a week and you need Harry Maguire to, he's going to ask for more money. United have put themselves in that situation. So I would do that. I would genuinely do that. £150,000 a week, but I would then put bonuses into that. Huge incentives around top 4 finishes, trophies being won, and of course him being an integral part of that. That would pay him bonuses that would equate his salary to £250,000 a week, but it would be bonus based. That's what I would do. We're going to have a recap in a minute, but a comment there from Kieran Hall says, watching at 1 a.m. here in Chicago. Love the video. Let's go get Dybala and Maguire, and that's an unreal window. Yeah, love your city, by the way, Chicago. I was there about a year ago. Absolutely loved it. I didn't know until I got there. It's a beautiful city. It has a beach. I didn't know. I had no idea. And yeah, amazing place, amazing part of the world. Yeah, listen, we're going to talk Dybala a little bit later on today. I'm going to digest a bit more of the information from that. But let me just say this to you now. Fernandes, Dybala, Maguire are 3 deals that genuinely could happen. The people reporting on them, the frequency of reports, the information that's coming out, that Bruno Fernandes is crying, Maguire going sick, his agent leaks, Marzio as a publication, forget the individual, have touched on all those deals in the last few days. And if Man United can get them over the line, with AWB already having come in and Dan James already at the club, getting rid of 4 or 5 bits of deadwood by the end of that as well, it will have been a phenomenal window. Slow, frustrating, no doubt about it, absolutely no doubt about it, but a phenomenal window nevertheless. So a bit of a recap for everybody that's new to tuning in. And before we do that, do us a big favour, please. Hit that like button and share button as well. And on top of that, big shout out to our title sponsors, the Football Index. If you want to support the channel, do us a big favour and download their application. And look at maybe getting involved with the football stock market. If you like a bit of a fluster, if you like a bit of a gamble, and you think you know your football, who are the players who are going to have great seasons and do wonders and grow in share prices? Use our promo code Football Terrace to sign up for that. It's an amazing way to support the channel, and our exclusive link is of course in the description below. But make sure you're over the age of 18. Good morning from Nigeria. Let's go get Dybala. Yes, my man. I'd love that to happen. Like, genuinely would love that. But a recap on this situation. So I know we spoke about him last night, but more developments happened between around 8 p.m. And midnight last night. First and foremost, a leaked picture from the agent and chief representative of Harry Maguire at Manchester United offices, showing Champions League trophies, Premier League trophies. You see the big Man United emblem, and it's been confirmed that it was a genuine post, and the guy genuinely is the chief representative of Harry Maguire. Aside from that, the Marzio publications have reported that a total agreement has been reached between the player, Harry Maguire, and Manchester United. Salaries, contract terms, etc. have all been negotiated. Now, of course, that's fantastic news. That's brilliant news. The 2 clubs, though, Leicester City and Man United, still need to get the deal done. But when you listen to the pros and you listen to the people that have some information on this, what they're all alluding to is they believe this deal is literally upon the edge, in the final stages of being closed. Leicester know that although they've been holding out for more money, although they're certainly going to increase the price at this stage by 15 to 20 million from Man United's original maximum offer, it looks like they're going to bow down to the demands of the player and get it done. And what you've also got to remember here is that Man United and Man City 4 to 5 weeks ago both put their first bid in for Harry Maguire, and it was around 45 to 50 million pounds. So what Leicester City have been doing is driving that price up. They are probably going to walk away with around 80 million pounds, which is almost double the original bids. So one of the reasons this has taken so long is, one, Harry Maguire was patient and respectful, and two, Leicester have been driving that price up, and it's about what Man United decide to do. How much the Man United need to improve their centre-back position. And we all know, as Richard Lucas there says, it's a good buy. It needed to be done. United improve to... They improve huge proportions straight away just by signing Maguire. And look, I understand why City have pulled out, because they're not in the same... Look, if Man United had Otamendi, Stones and Laporte at their club right now, they wouldn't go in this higher for Harry Maguire. They simply wouldn't do it. Having said that, I'm reading reports yesterday that Mustafi's going to be sold to Monaco for like 30 million euros. What about 25 million pounds? And if Mustafi's worth 25 million, right? Maguire's definitely worth 80 million. He's more than 3 times the player that Mustafi is. And that's the problem with the market. And that's also what's not helping a lot of buying clubs this year, is that when Tyrone Mings is going for 30 million, including bonuses, 30 odd million euros for Mustafi, when Dunk is being quoted as a replacement for Maguire at 45 to 50 million, of course that price is going to be there. Leicester are not going to just, we're going to take the moral high ground on this one, ladies and gentlemen. No, they're going to cash in and get as much money as possible for the player. I understand it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand it fully. And I think we do all need to be a bit more understanding around that. Okay. If only we listened to Jose Mourinho last season and just bought Maguire for 60 million. Yep. I get that point completely. Should have done it. However, Jose Mourinho didn't help himself. This is the one thing I'd say. What they did to Jose was wrong. Pulling the power away from him, allowing player power for me to grow to epic proportions. But Jose Mourinho's behaviour for months leading up to that point of saying no to the transfer were also awful. So that cannot be ignored. The owners of the club and the board didn't act in the right way. They should have removed the problem, which was Jose at this point. But they didn't. But the deal didn't go. There was no way, once they'd fallen out with him and the way he was publicly... what you got to remember with Ollie this summer, look how well-mannered he's been, kept his powder dry, spoke positively about the squad, been relaxed. All of last summer, the reason it was... it's bad news for journalism. It's great news for Man United, because the whole of last summer, it was just a big focus on how bad Man United's pre-season was, how angry Jose was. That then impacted the players. This year, it's the complete opposite. If we get in the individuals we want now, it's a bonus. Suddenly it's like, wow, we had a great pre-season, players look hungry, players are fit, Marzio and co all working hard, everyone's pulling in the right direction, and it looks as though we're just about to now land the players that we were desperate for and desperately needed. What a great summer. And although people, of course, still want the Glazers out and they're not happy with the way the club is being run, this is an isolated period of time that's pretty good. Terry, there's some racism going on around here in this thread. So I haven't seen any of these comments. If any of my moderators were on, remove them. Done. No time for them people. Let's just say here, the one problem Mourinho had was he made the squad miserable. He treated players like Mason, Angel and Chong terribly. I don't know if he treated them terribly. I don't know. I don't have any information on that. All I would say is but did he make the club miserable? Yes, he did. I don't think he had the players on side. And the example I would give you is this. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer blasted in front of Anthony Martial in front of his teammates towards the end of the season. Spoke to him about him being lazy and not working hard, and that's not the Man United way, and it won't be tolerated. Martial's come back and he's training harder and pushing harder than ever before in his career. But it's because of the way Ole does things. Because of someone told me about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is he might blast you on Friday at training. when you walk in on Saturday morning for some recovery work, or you come in on Sunday after the game, or whatever it may be, he's talking to you like there wasn't a problem. He says what he needs to say, and then that's the end of it, and you move on. And grown-ups and adults respect that in each other. And if you're at work and you make a mistake and your boss reprimands you for it, that's fine. Where it all goes wrong for many leaders in this world is it's like a hangover effect, and for 2 or 3 weeks they're like off with you and ignore you and barely speak to you because they're still angry. All that does is drive a wedge between you and your people, and it's impossible to lead individuals in that circumstance. It's as simple as that, for me anyway. Still a few more of your live comments here this morning. Technical skills are important, but they are nothing without higher morale. Very, very true. Very, very true. And that's why, look what, I'm not attacking him as a manager, but look what the Rafa Benitez's Real Madrid squad did when a manager that kept their morale up came in. I mean, it's going to be a real interesting one, actually, for Zidane this time round, because, that's only pre-season, but they got battered by Atletico the other day, and there's a lot of problems at the club this time round. Zidane hasn't inherited as talented a squad or as complete of a squad as he did do sort of 4 or 5 years ago. But if you keep morale up and you manage people right, which, by the way, I don't think they've done this year with Gareth Bale. One thing you've got to remember is Gareth Bale is going to have friends in that dressing room at Real Madrid. And the way he's been treated is going to frustrate them. And then they go and let his £1 million a week move with China almost happen, then pull the plug on it at the last minute. Like, yeah, it's great. And Hazard as well. I already came back 7 kilos overweight. From when he did his medical with them to when he came back, which was only a handful of weeks, 7 kilos. Now, putting 7 kilos on in a month is terribly unhealthy for anybody, let alone a professional athlete. Yeah. And we know how talented Eden Hazard is. We really, really do. But there's a reason for me, maybe a similar reason to that of Wayne Rooney, why they just haven't gone on to be that, they didn't move themselves into that Messi and Ronaldo territory, because they just didn't quite want it personally enough. They didn't quite, Wayne Rooney was the same for years, especially as a young man. The amount of times he would come back to pre-season and look pudgy, look overweight, people would catch him on holiday, smoking and drinking, eating the wrong food. There was even a time where he got injured, like mid-season for Man United, and Sky Sports were like filming him in the like a box, and someone brought like a beer over to him, and he poured a pint beer into like a half glass, and it was holding it in his hand. And I think he realised actually there could be cameras watching me, so he pushed it away from himself. But it's those little differences, every single day. When you're young, you get away with it, but it starts to catch up with you in the end. It really, really does. Terry, you should talk about the real issues of the board rather than talking about transfers, which will drag on till deadline day. Look, I've spoken about the issues with the Man United board, and I've spoke about them at length many, many times. I don't even care if this sounds pompous and arrogant. I was talking about the problems with the board, the problems with the way the club is run. Maybe not the intricate details, as we saw yesterday delivered in that fantastic letter to the Glazers, with a really big B. But I was talking about it a year ago, and everybody was telling me to shut up. Everybody was telling me, don't blame the Glazers, blame Jose. Everybody was telling me it's nothing to do with the owners. They've pumped all this money in, they've done this, they've done that. A year later, the Overton window has changed. What is now fashionable, what is now popular to criticise, and what isn't has changed. So suddenly everybody's screaming at me to talk about the Glazers and Woodward. And I did that last year. And I stand by my viewpoints from last year, and they'll come up in conversation again. But we know how poorly run the club is from top to bottom, and we need to focus on that. The reason why the Overton window has changed this year, though, and Ed Woodward is aware of this as well, it's why he's working so hard to get these deals done, is that the majority of Man United fans will not turn on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the same way they did Moyes, LVG and Jose. They may ask for him to go, but they're never going to disrespect him. So it is going to put a huge magnifying glass over the way he runs a club, his team run the club, and the Glazers do it. And they're fully aware of that. They really are. Listen, everyone who's tuned in, I really appreciate it. We will be back later on today for some more content. We're going to talk to Bala later on today. Update on Pepe coming out. Bruno Fernandes. There's so many stories to talk about. But until then, take care of yourselves. Have wonderful mornings. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should quote Churchill and give us the tools, and we'll finish the job. There's an element of truth in that, and that's quite a good quote, to be fair. But Ollie, we're going to have a decent season this year, even without these signings. We're going to do well. And I know we're going to do well, but the way we're being scoffed at, like I'm going to do like a rebuttal video later, but I heard a couple of very prominent, great YouTubers, by the way, talking about Man United, and I think they were baiting people, really. But like they were talking about our poor signings, and they were basically like how poor our window has been rather than poor signings. And even when they spoke about Aaron Wan-Bissaka, they were like, they signed that right back, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, as if to say that right back as if they didn't know who he was. And then their technical, one of the guys, his technical breakdown was, yeah, he's a good athlete. And I just thought to myself, wow, you're really baiting people here. You're really, really baiting people. But we'll talk about that a bit later. Listen, I had a super chat come through, which of course I have to read. It says, Terry, the B-Tech Tom Hardy. Listen, I don't mind being a B-Tech Tom Hardy. I'm not, by the way. Tom Hardy's an absolute don of an actor. If I could only act half as well as him, I'd be a very wealthy and successful man. But there we go. Yeah, it was True Geordie. And by the way, I thought the video was funny. You'll see, I've kind of scripted a response to it. And then I'm going to do it. I thought it was a brilliant video. And the reason I think it's a brilliant video is because it literally, it will hit so many nerves with so many Man United fans. Oh, but no, not triggered by it at all, because I see what they're doing. You only get... I'm actually getting to a stage in my life now where I think some real things trigger you, as an example. But often it's like, there's this thing in life where people don't mind if Goldbridge said what they said, nobody would care. But because they're not Man United fans, it triggers people. And I found that out recently. If you look what's going on in the media at the minute, like, if certain people slag off something, it's acceptable. If other people slag the same things off in the same language, same rhetoric, it's suddenly like this big hullabaloo being made about it. And that's the thing with the public. But yeah, no triggering from me. I actually laughed the whole way through the video. I thought it was brilliant. But yeah, so my rebuttal really is more to the fans in the comments that were like going crazy about it, you know. So there we go. Listen, take care of yourselves, everybody. Terry versus True Geordie in a boxing match. I'm fighting True Geordie. Seen the size of that boy? Jeez. Listen, take care of yourselves. God bless, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye bye.